Hey everybody, welcome back. This week we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm heading out for an overnight hike and camp with my 10-year-old daughter, and I thought it might be interesting to look at a couple of the meals that we'll be preparing to take with us. Now this is backcountry hiking, so we're going to be carrying everything with us in backpacks, including a water filter and all our food for 2 days. So we'll have to be very conscious of how much everything weighs as we're preparing these dishes. So let's jump in. First up, I'm going to get everything ready for the dinner that we'll eat the night we get to camp. We're going to be eating pesto ramen. I'm going to put a couple of teaspoons of olive oil in a small watertight container here, and this oil will add some much needed calories to this dish. You can see that I've also got 3 packages of store-bought ramen noodles to make enough for 1 adult and 1 youth. I'm going to grate some fresh Parmesan cheese. Using the dehydrated powdery kind would save a little bit of weight, but this is what we have in the house, and this tastes much better in my mind, so I'll accept the extra gram or 2 of weight here. We're going to be adding some sun-dried tomatoes as well for a little bit of vegetable content. These are dried, so I'm just going to dice them up really small so that they rehydrate quickly once we get to camp. So first I'll julienne them, and then I'll dice them finely. And these also go into a Ziploc. Now I haven't ever tried this product before, but I saw it at the store and decided to give it a try. I doubt that it'll have a ton of garlic flavor, but I'm hoping that it adds some. Now I've decided that this could go in with the sun-dried tomatoes. And then the final element to this dish, to make it sort of pesto adjacent, is some basil. I'm going to pick a few leaves here from the garden, and then I think it's likely best to keep the leaves whole for transporting them. Cutting them up will start them oxidizing, and then they'll end up all black and bruised by the time we get to eat them. So I'm just going to keep them whole, and they'll go into a Ziploc. And so that's it. Pseudo pesto ramen. It's not fancy, but after a long day of hiking, it'll taste pretty good, I'm sure. And we'll likely eat a few slices of beef jerky along with this as well, just to boost up the protein. Okay, now we're on to breakfast. I feel like this meal is arguably more important than the dinner, as this is the fuel that we're going to be burning on our hike back to the car on the second day. Now I usually make this with granola, but I had this cereal, which is sort of granola with some flakes in it, so I think this will work as well. Now you could pick any cereal you like, but I would pick something fairly hearty that can withstand some crushing in your backpack. Now to this I'm going to add some protein powder. We really like this Good Protein brand, and for this breakfast I'm going to add some of the banana flavor and some of the peanut butter flavor. But you can also just use vanilla or chocolate or whatever flavor you like, and these will go into the bowl with the cereal. Next up is some milk powder. This is going to make the final dish a little bit creamy, which is nice. And again, powdered everything to save on weight. And then we're going to add some chia seeds. Chia seeds are packed with fiber and protein, as well as omega-3 fatty acids and tons of minerals and nutrients that we're going to need to be replacing after sweating a lot while we're hiking. And so we'll add these into the bowl. And then I'm going to add in some hemp hearts. These are also high in plant-based protein, as well as fatty acids, and they contain all 9 amino acids, as well as a ton of fiber, vitamins, and minerals. Basically, these are really good for you. So I'll put a couple of tablespoons of these in as well. And finally, I'm going to add some brown sugar. Now this is optional depending on how sweet your protein powder and your cereal is, as well as how sweet you like things. But when we're burning calories like we will be on this hike, I don't really worry too much about an extra spoonful or 2 of sugar, so I'm going to add it in. Now all of this gets mixed up together, and then I'm going to add this into a large freezer bag. Okay, let's hit the trail. We're going to be hiking on Vancouver Island in Canada. So that's all the way over on the west coast of British Columbia. Right in the middle here of Vancouver Island is a huge provincial park called Strathcona Provincial Park. And we're going to be hiking to this small lake here called Bedwell Lake. And here are a few quick images from our hike. Alright, so we've set up camp and the fog has rolled in. After some mixed sun and clouds all day, it looks like we might be in for a bit of rain overnight, so we're going to get dinner made here and eaten so that we can get ourselves into the tent. First up, I'm going to boil the noodles until they're cooked. Now, the footage of the actual preparation of the food is pretty sparse here. We were both very hungry, and filming was a bit of a challenge when you're cooking with the pot balanced on the side of a rock, but you can see all the ingredients laid out here. We didn't add in all of the chicken bouillon powder that comes with the ramen noodles. There's plenty of salt coming from the cheese, and I didn't think that it was going to be needed. And then this didn't last too long, but I did manage to get a shot of it just before it was all gone. It was definitely just jazzed up ramen noodles, but it was very tasty and it filled us up enough to go to bed. And then here we are in the next morning, and you can see that the fog's lifted and we could finally see the lake. And it's breakfast time. So I boiled up some water, and once it was hot, poured it over the divided up cereal. And you can see that this ends up sort of like an oatmeal style dish. It's super filling, packed with protein, and this really gives you the fuel you need for the day. I really like this one, and it's my staple breakfast whenever I'm overnight hiking. So let's take a look at the costs for these two meals. You can see here that with the dinner, the ramen noodles were actually the largest cost, but that everything else was relatively reasonable. The cost for two of us to eat this was $2.90, plus some additional costs for the beef jerky. Now, I don't know how many of you have purchased pre-packaged, dehydrated camping meals, but they usually start at around $14 or $15 per serving per person. And in my opinion, they all sort of taste like a variation on tomato soup. Not very good. Now for the breakfast, the real cost is in the protein powder, which is just an expensive ingredient overall, no matter what type you get. Again, the rest of these costs are pretty insignificant. So altogether, for the two portions of this breakfast, the total cost was $3.34, which again is so much less than a store-bought dehydrated breakfast. And this one is packed with protein, fiber, amino and fatty acids, lots of minerals and vitamins, and no preservatives. Anyway, that's it for this week. Not really a meal that you would choose maybe to cook at home, but if you're getting prepared for a big day of activities or physical exertion, then I highly recommend giving that breakfast bowl a try. Now, if you enjoyed this video or you found it useful, please do hit the like button. And as this is a new channel, I'd very much appreciate you subscribing so I can keep bringing you more videos. Talk soon.